ईश्वरः गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. Hari Om everyone. Today I'll be reading some very good topics of cherished memories, which is edited by Sri U.S. Ramchandran and my own grandfather Sri A. Ranganna. Starting with is with Swami Sachidanandaji. Let us see what Swami Sachidanandaji says. It's a great privilege to move closely with saints and more so to have opportunities to serve them. On such occasions, we see how the actions of saints are spontaneous and natural. Such actions make an indelible impression on those who witness them. Beloved Papa and Mataji, after having reached the supreme goal of a human being, that is, the realization of their oneness with the Supreme Being and the entire manifested world, chose to make Anand Ashram a field for putting into practice the universal love they both had experienced as a result of their universal vision. For them, doing anything to anybody was to serve God. For them, any situation, however apparently good or bad, was brought about by God alone, as God is the sole doer. An ordinary man whose vision has not expanded into infinity would be shaken when something very unpleasant happens. Well, this can be me, it can be any other common man here. But the wider vision helps the saints to stand firm and unshaken, whatever may happen. In the early days of the ashram, till around 1960, the monthly donations, which was the only income, were always less than the expenditure. It was a joy and great lesson to see beloved Papa and Mataji handling such situations. One day's incident, large amounts were due to the provision merchants. Wages to workers were overdue. And during those days, it was a daily practice to wait for the postman to see how much money he brought by way of money orders and checks contained in letters. Mataji was not interested in checks as they would bring cash only a day or two later through the bank. That particular day, she took directly from the postman rupees 350, being the total value of all the money orders. Many workers were waiting. The provision merchants were waiting. She told the merchants, today we have received only 350 rupees. I have to give something to the workers today. So two of you will get 100 rupees each towards the amounts due to you. She distributed to the workers 5 rupees each against the wages due to them. Beloved Papa was also told of the situation. Papa had left everything to Mataji and therefore was blissful as ever. Mataji's face showed absolutely no worry of any kind for the large amounts due. And the mere amount received by post, making it possible only to give almost negligible amounts to the merchants and workers. Persons of lesser caliber would fret and fume. Yes, it can be a person like me. Get angry and make the situation very unpleasant. She saw to it that whatever amounts were received through checks were used for payments to the workers. One day, a tile merchant telephoned to inquire if the 300 rupees due to him would be paid immediately. The amount was outstanding for over 3 months. The tiles were brought for a house of one of the workers. Though the financial situation was very tight, Mataji took up the construction of houses for the poor if they were badly needed. I answered the phone and told Mataji the details. She said she would herself talk to the merchant and took the phone from me. She said, I know the amount is due to you for a long time. Our position at present is that amounts received are very little and the amounts due to be paid are larger. You can be sure the amount due to you will be paid to you sooner or later according to the availability of funds. But if you are too much in a hurry, you are welcome to take back all the tiles which are already on the roof, said Mataji. This she spoke so naturally that there was not a tinge of anxiety over the situation. The answer from the merchant was, all right, mother, I shall wait till you are able to make the payment conveniently. Placing back the receiver of the phone, she was laughing like a carefree child. The most important turning point in my life, that is Swamiji's life, was when I was talking to Papa about my inability to maintain equanimity while engaged in activities and therefore about my craving for a solitary life. Papa immediately understood my condition and suggested that I might go to Rishikesh and adopt sannyas. Stay alone, do meditation. Next day, he himself got a couple of sets of clothes dyed in red ochre along with a wooden shawl. The dyeing was done in the Udyog Shala under his personal supervision. All the time, at the time of leaving, he gave me the clothes and shawl and said, have a clean shave, bathe in Brahmakund, and discarding the white clothes, put on ochre robes. Taking the oath of sannyas, find a suitable place for stay and sadhana. You may take the sannyasa name either as Sachidananda or Anantananda. Mataji, however, was not happy when she heard from Papa that I was advised to leave for Rishikesh and adopt sannyas. She asked why I should go anywhere, as, according to her, serving the Guru is a better sadhana than any other. But the real mother's heart was revealed. But as I was inclined to go and Papa also supported it, Mataji reluctantly agreed. Another important event in my life was when I was sitting with Papa during my first visit to the ashram and explaining to him my then state of mind and my prayer that he would not push me back into worldly life. Papa seriously thought for a few minutes and said very lovingly, Ramdas is thinking of keeping you here in the ashram. But the right time has not come yet. You may now go home and Ramdas will call you when the time comes. This assured me of a place close to Papa and Mataji, and I rejoiced over it. Traveling with Papa and Mataji in trains and cars is another experience. Papa was always jovial and would crack jokes often. On the other hand, Mataji did not enjoy travel at all. Yet she saw to it that Papa was served as best as possible under the conditions prevailing during train travel. She was the real mother, and Papa and myself were two children for her. She did not limit the service to the two of us. Everybody in the compartment also got the same treatment. The days of travel with Papa and Mataji are really unforgettable, says Swamiji. Travel life was very different from the routine life in the ashram. Visiting different places, seeing different faces, and coping with different programs would be a refreshing experience in itself. From early morning, devotees would be visiting Papa, who would greet them with great joy and spend some time with everyone, talking about various matters. Papa used to be in an ecstatic state always during the talks. The devotees, there used to be a lot of fun and laughter. Papa was not concerned about anything as Mataji managed everything with assistance from me. Needless to say, those were fragrant, unforgettable moments. Even after remaining with Papa for 1 or 2 hours, the devotees were not in a mood to leave. Mataji then would come and stand near the door facing Papa, taking this as a signal for them to leave. The devotees would leave one by one. Even in Papa's bedroom, the members of the family of the host and some close friends would sit near Papa's bed. Papa would crack such jokes as would make them laugh and laugh. Sometimes they had to hold their sides lest they should split. During the tour, Papa and Mataji would usually stay at the house of a devotee who would be in a position to make arrangements for other devotees to take part in the satsang programs in the same house and also outside somewhere. The devotees would start pouring in right from early morning. Some of them would return home after spending a few minutes with Papa and Mataji. Many would stay on. Mataji saw to it that each and every devotee present there was given breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So the people in the kitchen would be busy preparing food for the innumerable devotees coming to have Papa's darshan. With the satsang on one side and the feeding of the many on the other side, house wore a festive look. In the beginning, some of the hosts who had not seen such mass feeding at such a short notice were nervous. But Mataji gave them courage, and they also were very happy that Papa and Mataji used them as instruments for such seva to devotees. So whenever Papa and Mataji went, a festive atmosphere was created and it was all joy. A feast for the soul and a feast for the body. The most elevating experience when we are with saints is to see them meeting other saints. This happens rarely. I had the privilege of witnessing Papa and Mataji meeting Sri Swami Anandashram, Sri Swami Parignarashram, Sri Bhai Veer Singh, Sri Shankaracharya of Puri, Sri Vinoba Bhave, Sri Taki Maharaj, Sri Puneet Maharaj, Sai Satkar Shah, Sri Ramadevi, Ma Anandamayi, Godavari Mata, and many others. Papa's humility, Papa's joy, and Papa's reverence for them cannot be put into words. It has to be seen and enjoyed. They meet joyfully like children and converse with each other so lovingly and guilelessly that those blessed to witness the same are transported to higher planes of consciousness. These are the special blessings we enjoy when we have the privilege to live and move with saints. Such blessed moments cannot be had anywhere else, says Swami Sajjanandaji. Moving on to the next article written by my own beloved grandfather, Sri A. Ranganna. Bhagavan Adi Shankara has stated that there can be a bad son, but never a bad mother. Mother will always be very much concerned about the welfare of a son who is most undeveloped and backward in everything. This may be the reason why the Lord, in the form of beloved Papa, chose to come into my life, says Anna. Born in a middle class family, I was quite ordinary in almost everything. My parents were no doubt God-fearing, but they were not very religious, as is the case in certain Orthodox Brahmin families. The idea of seeking a guru slowly took shape in my mind. I went about seeking people, asking people if they knew any saint. One friend suggested there is Swami Yatishwarananda in Sri Ramakrishna Ashram, Bangalore. He is an illumined person and a direct disciple of Swami Brahmananda. I was thankful about it. For some reason or the other, I did not pursue the idea. However, I was chanting Sriram, Sriram, Sriram as much as possible. One day during the course of an evening walk, a friend made a casual remark. There is one Mahatma called Ramdas. Whenever anyone goes to him, he will embrace him saying, Ram, Ram. I could have asked him for more details, but somehow I did not do anything about it. A few days later, I happened to meet a friend who was working as a clerk in an office. I was told that he was devoted to Sri Ramakrishna Ashram. He passed on to me a book and asked me to read it. It looked very old. Outer cover was all greasy. I looked at the title. It was In Quest of God by Swami Ramdas. I started reading the book and it gripped me. As I was going through its passages, I was actually shedding tears of joy. The next book in the Vision of God also came to me. That book also caught me. Something within me told, here is your guru. Without much delay, I took a bus to Mangaluru. At the Mangaluru bus stand, I asked someone where Anand Ashram was. No one could enlighten me. Anyway, the address was in the book. So I went straight to the Mangaluru railway station and boarded the train which would stop at Kanjangarh. Getting down at Kanjangarh, I went on foot to Anand Ashram, making inquiries all the way. In those days, there were no auto rickshaws and no electric lights. It was about 7 p.m. when I arrived at the ashram. Papa was sitting on the asan and bhajan was going on. I went and sat down in a corner. Papa called one devotee who looked like a Punjabi and told him something. That person came to me and led me to the ashram canteen for my food. If my memory does not fail, Pujya Mataji was there in the kitchen. After bhajan was over, Papa sat in the hall surrounded by devotees. I was new to the place and feeling a little shy. I did not know how to ask Papa directly for an interview. The devotee sitting near me told Papa about me, and Papa asked me to come next morning at 8:30. So next day at exactly 8:30, I was in Papa's room. A few others were also there. Papa made a jocular remark. Do you want a public interview or a private interview? I was silent. The others left and I was alone with Papa. I sat at his holy feet. My heart was beating fast. Words could not come out of my mouth. Presently, I mumbled Upadesh. Papa made me sit before him and gave the initiation in the usual way. I was moved a little and my eyes became wet. Papa told me, repeat the mantra always. There are no restrictions. Whenever possible, go and meet saints. I made bold to and asked a question. Swamiji, how do we know that God's grace has come to us? Then Papa replied, the very fact that you have come here is a proof of God's grace. There are thousands living close by. Do they all come here? By God's grace alone, you can eat, walk, talk, and do everything. It was on that day that beloved Papa came into my life. Thereafter, from 1953, it has been my good fortune to come to the ashram and be in the company of Papa and Mataji, at least during holidays, and listen to their words of wisdom. By their grace, all the members of my family, including grandchildren, are deeply attached to them and the ashram. There was a time when I used to deny God. Now, slowly I came to realize that I was seeing God himself in flesh and blood. The God in the temple never speaks, but the living God, none other than Papa, talked and joked and made all swim in the ocean of bliss. At least when we sat at his holy feet. By the grace of Papa and Mataji, my life has been running smoothly now. Though there had been many very difficult situations from which I could come out unscathed. It may not be out of place to mention a few outstanding incidents. Once Papa was sitting in the Panchavati, I was sitting at his holy feet. There was no one else. Suddenly, Papa asked me, "What are you?" "I am a lecturer, Papa," I replied. He put the next question: "How about your chances of promotion?" I had to tell him that there was very little chance for the simple reason that promotion was governed by extra academic considerations, and even my own teachers had retired only as lecturers. Papa kept silent. In a mysterious way, several changes took place in the university, and I got the leadership and eventually also the professorship. I am certain that it was entirely due to Papa's grace. Once during election time, I was drafted for work as presiding officer at several polling stations. At one of the polling stations, my polling officers and I had to work the whole night. The polling was to take place the next morning at 8. Everything was ready, and about 10 minutes were left. All of a sudden, a certain member of the polling party, about whom I did not have a good opinion, brought to my notice a serious error in the setup. Immediately, I set about rectifying it, and the polling started exactly on time. If that mistake had not been noticed, the whole situation would have become null and void. That would have meant disgrace to me. It was only by Papa's grace that I was saved. There have been several instances in which the lives of myself, my children, and grandchildren have been saved as if by a miracle. It is clear that Papa's protecting hand is always around his devotees. One very significant incident may be mentioned. My father had cancer in his throat, and he was on his deathbed. He was unable to drink even one spoon of water. On the last day, his whole body was burning and he was rolling in pain. I was at his bedside, a helpless onlooker. Suddenly, I started praying to Papa mentally to grant God remembrance to my father. A few minutes passed, and my father appeared to calm down. He started saying in a very low voice, "Narayana, Narayana." I was thrilled, and in fact, I felt very happy that he passed away peacefully with God's name on his lips. Another, as regards spiritual progress, there is not much to be said, but I try to compare my present mental state with what it was about 20 years back. I notice a lot of difference. That is all I can say. Papa used to say, every time you come here, a thin layer of ignorance is removed. I have a long, long way to go. But I am sure beloved Papa and Mataji are there to take care of me. This is the article written by my beloved grandfather Sri Rangana. Wonderful article, no doubt. I think we don't have much time, so I'll just say Ram Nam and we can do a silent meditation. Om Om Sri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram 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 Om Sri Ram Jai 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 Ram Om Sri Ram Jai Ram 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 Jai Jai Ram Sri Ram Jai Ram